Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Brands Hatch for the latest round in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. This time round, coming to you live from Brands Hatch Grand Prix now. It is the K6 Racing Grand Prix, playing host to round 6 of our Road Series. Races 11 and 12 here tonight. In just 4 weeks' time, at the end of April, we'll crown a champion, and Marcus Beifeld is the red-hot favourite to do that. 8 victories in the 10 starts he's made so far this season. He will start tonight's races, even the reverse grid one, as the favourite to take a full complement of points once again. Myself, Ian O'Leary, returning back to the commentary box with Lewis McGlade here tonight. On a Thursday here on RaceSpotTV. Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the camera. It's good to be back on the series again with just 3 rounds to go. Brands Hatch, as you can see, the K6 Racing Grand Prix playing host to races 11 and 12. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be in Sonoma for the penultimate round. You've got to say that on course, Marcus Beifeld might well be close to championship winning position by then, even with that Svenska e-racing final to come from Suzuka at the end of the month. Interspersed in between those, of course, our Oval Series continues here on Thursday nights. Marcus Beifeld is the championship leader by 41 points, the latest gap. He's picked up 475 of them over the course of his 10 starts so far. That's an average finishing position of better than second. Very, very strong season so far. Daniel Holmer's best of the rest, you've got to say, with third, only just ahead of Mikael Sundström. Linus Broström rounds out the top 5. Jonas Gunnarsson and Jock Frisk gained some positions last time out. Jo Strauberg lost a couple. He's dropped to 8th in front of Andres Bachmann. And then Jacques Schu, who rounds out the top 10 in the Road Series standings. For reference, in the team's standings, nearly on pace, are just starting to pull themselves away. 32.2 points away from Simrace Sweden Esports as things stand. So both championships just beginning to get pulled apart. 87 degrees Fahrenheit down on the racetrack, just 31 degrees Celsius. Not too bad in terms of track temperature. In the middle of August, late afternoon, temperatures shouldn't be too much of a problem. Good to be alongside you for this one, Lewis. It's going to be GT3 racing at Brands Hatch, which presents to us a various number of eventualities, I suppose. We could see races where it's very tricky to overtake. We could see races where we've barely got time to breathe. We'll see what kind of racing we get here tonight.
Yeah, qualifying is critical here. It really, really is. You've got to get yourself into a good bit of track position going into the opening race of the evening, and then the second one a little bit later on. You know, kind of one of those ones where I think we might have to see a few drivers maybe even going after a much more aggressive fuel-saving strategy to try and hold some track position to potentially even skip the pit stop if they possibly can. It's a very tricky circuit to pass at for sure. Also one which, as you can see, especially around here on the Grand Prix loop, is extremely difficult to keep it on the road. Very, very narrow around the back end there, and you're carrying such speed around there. Very easy to drop a wheel off the circuit and effectively throw it straight into the barrier.
Or indeed, the incident limit may play a role tonight, especially in the longer race. 20 incident points is one drive-through in this series. Every 10 after that is another. If you're getting into some 4x contact and you're running wide a little bit too often, that might be a concern over the course of 45 minutes. But we will see a little bit later on tonight. As you can see, it's a very large field again, more than 30 drivers in the field, but look at the time gaps all the way through. I mean, I know that not everybody set representative times, especially down towards the back end, but Lucas Olsson's the last driver currently to have set a time. He's 4.2 seconds behind the current pole sitter, Marcus Beifeld. That in essence shows you everything you need to know about this circuit, because it's not a long track, but it is super difficult, and it creates the rather large time gaps we can currently see.
Yeah, it is brutal around here. Keeping it on the road, yes. Firing it around in good laps and having the confidence to go after it time and time again. It's something that a few drivers definitely struggle with. Of course, Marcus Beifeld, not one of those. Hedrick Lindhoff, who we're looking at the top of your screen, the only driver not called Marcus Beifeld to have won this season. I do get the feeling, though, that courtesy of the nature of how difficult it is to pass at this circuit and whatnot, I do think the 2 races will be won by 2 different drivers. I get the feeling that Beifeld's... This is a tricky circuit to win both. You know, to come up through in that second race, it's a little too tricky in my book. It's possible for sure, but it's tough.
Yeah, I would agree. The only thing I will say to that, though, is that I said the exact same thing about this time in the Laguna Seca race.
Yeah.
And Marcus Byfeld did win both of those. So I think on paper that is probably true, but I look at some of the time gaps here, and I mean, once it thins out a little bit, if you've got to, let's say Jonas Gunnarsson, if let's say this race finishes as it starts, which it won't, but let's say it does, Jonas Gunnarsson will start from the pole for the next one. He's 1.8 seconds a lap slower than Marcus Byfeld. That is quite significant. Yeah. And yes, it is difficult to overtake around here, but that is a big enough gap for you to be able to make your way through. We'll see. I mean, I think a lot of that second race is going to be riding on the start, because I remember from that Laguna Seca race, Byfeld was in 5th place after about 5 minutes. That's a very good start. If he doesn't get that and it all spreads out and suddenly you're quite a long way away from the leader in terms of a time gap, then maybe it gets more difficult.
Henrik Lindhoff's qualifying session comes to a close and returns to pit lane. That's actually one thing that we will be talking about a little bit in that second race, where all the drivers will be coming into the pit lane. They've only got a 50% tank in the race. Very unlikely they'll be able to save that much. There'll be a lot of people saving, but it's more to probably shrink that that fuel stop as much as possible. I don't know how you feel about it, Ewan. I maintain I love Brands Hatch. I really do. I think it's a great circuit, great fun to drive. I think it has the #1 worst, potentially even both sides, but definitely pit exit on planet Earth. I think it is the absolute worst. It drops you out onto the apex of a blind, extremely fast and very difficult right-hander over the crest of a hill. It's mental.
It isn't totally ideal.
The entry is pretty bad as well.
I was going to say that. I was going to mention the entry. Yeah, I was going to mention the entry. I sort of get why you have a chicane there. So, you know, if you have a crash on the way and you're not tearing in there at about 120 miles an hour with people in the pit lane, I get that. But it's a horrible chicane to put at the start of a pit lane. But anyway, needs must, I suppose. And of course, the geography not helping them with regards to pit exit there, because you forget to do well, I suppose you don't forget it, but it's worth noting on the right-hand side as you exit the pit lane there, it's quite a steep drop. Over the hill there, so there's not too much more they can really do, and there you can see it just down there, the elevation change between the front straight and the one that runs parallel down towards the cut-off from the Indy circuit down towards the Grand Prix loop. It's quite steep down there. It's quite a big elevation change, but there you go. That's the part of the beauty of this racetrack, really. Been around for a very long time indeed, and it's very much fitting around the geography itself. Rather than the other way around, which is the way it should be as well, and what makes it such a great and challenging racetrack to drive. Let's have a look at the starting grid. They're ready for race 1, and it's no surprise that Marcus Byfeld has taken yet another pole position. He's got Henrik Lindhoff alongside Mikko Sundström, not that far behind either. Then the big gaps start to come in with Oliver Rosquist and Oliver Bohlin rounding out the top 5. Adam Alterwill rounds out the third row. Daniel Holmer and Jock Schuer on row 4 in front of Joachim Svensson and Christopher Geros. Outside the top 10, Johan Oberg and Gabriel Norberg share row 6. Marcus Harkman's next in front of Linus Broström, Robert Karlsson and Kenneth Thier on row 8 together in front of Hakan Schott and Jonas Gunnarsson. Some big names back in the teens here as far as the GT3 series is concerned. Running out the top 20 is Nicholas Grahn and Samuel Kollesmir. Lukas Filipkowski is 21st in front of Fredrik Matheson. Then it's Christopher Dahlstrand and Thomas Kinnell on row 12. Already 2 seconds off pole down here, by the way. Jock Frisk is next in front of Mikael Pennings with his teammate Lucas Olsson directly behind. Dante Forsberg, another teammate, but not directly scoring points in the same way. Dante Forsberg there, 28th ahead of Bjorn Broström and Pontus Norgren. Kalle Wallström's next in front of Marcus Stiller, who never qualifies, starting from 32nd. And Patrick Pfeffer, who does sometimes qualify, but not this time. He will start from 33rd. Makeshift starting grids indeed, as they get rolling away for their half formation lap in a moment, just after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And I don't know whether we're going to be going into the next day for the next session or what, but if we go too much deeper into the day for race number 2, it might start to get a little bit dark before the end of race number 2 in a couple of hours' time, but probably nothing too bad, and we might go to the next day anyway. A clear road in front for Marcus Byfeld, a familiar sight. All bets would go towards him closing this one out, but you never know when we're going to get a surprise in this series, and maybe Henrik Lindhoff is going to pull one off in this race.
He'll need to do it pretty early and pretty fast indeed, Will Lindorf, if he's trying to take victory in this race. A couple of places where you can go on the attack early. Yes, if you get a good reaction to the start of the race, good reaction to when Byfeld goes, you can try and make something go into Paddock Hill. If not, if Byfeld goes a little bit deep in Paddock Hill, you can get the up and under and maybe try and force the move into Druids. By the time you leave Graham Hill Bend, certainly by the time you've left Surtees, if Byfeld is gone, I think he basically has this one wrapped up already. I genuinely think that he'll be impossible to overtake after that point, but you just never know.
You do. I agree, it's going to be all down to this opening lap, this Indy layout, really. It's, when you get into the Grand Prix circuit, it gets more difficult. Let's see how they go in the latest round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. It's the K6 Racing Grand Prix from Brands Hatch. And he's not waiting around, and Henrik Lindorf caught on his heels completely. Marcus Byfeld leads towards turn number 1, and he's got a car length over the Mustang, who has to tuck in behind. It's the Aston Martin then, the teammate of Byfeld, Mikael Sundström, who slots into third. Smoke, trouble in the background. Smoke and spins and Porsches all over the road there. There's a very damaged Porsche to the outside of the road there indeed. One of them, Gabriel Norberg's involved. So's Johan Oberg, as well as Adam Altenwil, as well as Robert Carlson. They've all dropped from the top 20, involved in a lap 1 crash through turn 1.
Yeah, I get the feeling there might have been a little bit of car-to-car contact coming down the exit of Paddock Hill, leaving a car sideways and right in the middle of the pack, and you don't really have that much room to manoeuvre. Let's see, we're looking back with Johan Oberg, who I think was the car that was at 90 degrees. Bit of contact between your two Porsches. Racing through was one of the BMWs, just right in the middle. And it's basically it's impossible to avoid for a lot of those cars coming down the hill. Jochen Frisk was also dropped right the way down to the back of the pack. It's a big shame, very big shame, but very easily done. Already a 1.2 second lead though from Marcus Byfeld. You said he got that start right. Perfect, absolutely perfect from Byfeld again.
No messing around, he just went, and Lindorf wasn't ready for it, or if he was, he didn't react quick enough. It's 1.2 seconds at the end of just one lap, and that might well be game, set and match already, with still nearly 20 minutes to go in this opening race, but we'll see. We can never write anything off Brands Hatch. Loads of gravel through turn 1 after that lap 1 smash up there. Lots of guys rejoining and bringing dirt onto the racetrack. See Samuel Collersmere's view of it. He was starting quite towards the back anyway, and he is the one who comes through and smacks into Norberg. In fact, he actually gets caught up with that McLaren that was over on towards his front nose, and then Collersmere into Norberg, who, by the way, pretty remarkably actually, is the only one to have got a meatball from the 7 involved.
Yeah, just absolutely nowhere to go in the middle of all of that. Side by side between the two Mercs behind that, Daniel Holmer and Jocko Schue. Schue's come from the back end of the top 10 and is making a look to the inside as they go up towards Hawthorns. Very close indeed as Daniel Holmer's hanging it out to the high side, a winner in the oval side this season as well. Side by side through Westfield Bend, dropping back down the hill. Incredible stuff between the two Mercs.
And they'll finally get single file, and wisely so, you'd say, as well, for Dingledale, which is, in my opinion, the most difficult corner on this racetrack. But you certainly won't want to go side by side through there, whether it is the most difficult or not. It's very, very tricky to do so indeed. But Holmer getting into 6th position is a pretty good pass around that part of the racetrack there. He was stuck up on the outside. He was not in the desirable position, but he does make the pass. This is further down, and this is what can happen. We've just seen a good example of side-by-side racing through the Grand Prix circuit. That's a not good one.
Thomas Cannell was on the inside. Oh! Whoa! Had to get out of the way. I mean, the brake pedal could have been used, but I do understand why some drivers were wanting to avoid that. Rolling backwards there for Matheson. It's not an easy position to be in when you've got all that going on. Hakam Shots come into the pit lane to serve a black flag. Now, I'm going to assume that that might well be for instant points already. Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing that I think could have caused that at this point in the race. So potentially we've seen someone go ahead of the 20 instant point limit, come through a drive. You've got 10 instant points now before the next one. Thing is, you get 4 instant points for every single bit of contact. As the 45 goes for a bit of a spin, that is Oberg, who's dropped right the way down. One for every off-track, 2 for a spin. It's quite easy to rack up 20 when it's been that chaotic in the opening part of the race.
well, I was about to say I'll be very impressed if it is, but maybe it is an incident limit already. Market shot. Let's look around for any more clues. This is what happened to Oberg, way too fast on the inside there, coming into the Grand Prix loop. And he spins towards the gravel, has to wait a few cars to go past, and then rejoins again. I think there's more to the story there with Hackenschott. I think he's got damaged, he's come in to repair, and on the way in he's sped, is my guess. I haven't seen the incident he's been involved in. He's not the only one in pit lane, by the way. Norberg's still there with his meatball. No fast repair in this series, of course, so you do have to spend a lot of time repairing cars. Freddie Matheson, Samu Collismere, Nicholas Graham, the others in pit lane. That's 5 of them after only a few minutes in this race, all with damage. It's the kind of racetrack you expect that to happen, unfortunately. There's so many of them that they were never going to fit their way all through cleanly.
Here's Jock Frisk, who dropped right the way back down on lap 1, now trying to make a move, getting down the inside of Norgren, and go through Surtees will complete that move in the Porsche before heading out onto the Grand Prix loop. I mean, for all these drivers back here, they're all fighting for each position, because obviously it will affect their starting position in the next race, the top 15 getting reversed for the second race of the evening. For a lot of those cars that are in pit lane at the moment, they understand they're not really going to get anything special out of this race, probably not even going to gain an extra spot from going back out. So for Norberg, it might be time to put the kettle on, sit back and have a tea. If the car is repaired, get back out there, just get a couple of sighting laps before the next race of the evening. But that's about it, really.
Yeah, indeed. That's the positive thing about having 2 races in one night, I suppose, but not much you can do about this one. That's Broström going, Hagman, getting himself down the inside of Svensson, rather. Broström's just up the road there in 9th. That's Svensson going wide. Seen that a couple of times actually into turn 2 already. Some guys missing the braking zone. Saw Lindhoff do it earlier, although that mistake wasn't punished. And Svensson is not going to get away with that one either. He gets on the grass coming towards turn 4. It's a difficult braking zone there as it bends round to the left. And he just got in the grass, did Svensson, and Hagman's second invitation within one lap was not declined. And there is Holmer trying to make another spectacular move. This one goes badly wrong.
That is not ideal indeed. He was trying to get to the outside of Bohlin, and more drama indeed. I think he's got plenty of damage on the car. He's got the look to the inside from Linus Broström, and Broström's trying to hang it there. Holmer's trying to hang around the outside. That one's not going to work. He's still slightly to the inside.
Unbelievable. Holmer, I think, just had overheated tyres, but that seems to have disappeared quite quickly. He had the bravery there, despite the fact his car really wasn't underneath him at all, to carry on going round the outside through Dingodale. He's still there at the final corner, and the queue behind them is only growing. Here in the background comes Marcus Hagman, who's just made his way into the top 10. He might have a chance to gain 2 more places in a moment. Broström can't see Holmer off, and he's still holding the inside. Holmer going the left-hand side of this racetrack, clockwise racetrack. You're constantly finding yourself on the outside. Finally, as Broström got him into the rearview mirror, finally he has done, but that lasted nearly a whole lap.
So let's see what happened between Oliver Bohlin, who's on the left-hand side. That's not Linus Broström, it's Broström's teammate. He's on the inside. Quite hard to tell from that angle, but I do think Bohlin is drifting off of the apex into the side of Daniel Holmer, who was innocently on the outside, going a bit for a risky move, fair enough. I think he was hit relatively innocently in the number 79. Goes for a spin, somehow gets it pointed in the right direction. That might be the use of the old classic 2-foot hack save, what I was always told about. If you ever slide in like that, slam both your feet down on the throttle and the brake pedal as hard as you can, and generally speaking, it ends up pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, don't take that philosophy onto a football field, though.
Do you think VAR might have a thing to say about it?
It's like 2 feet down, straight on the floor. Yeah, that's not a transferable skill, let's say. Yeah, okay. While it is carrying on in 5th place in front of Jock Schuh, actually gained the most out of that, you'd say probably immediately a free pass past Daniel Holmer, but also able to put the pressure pretty immediately actually onto Oliver Bohlin there in that battle for 5th place. Meanwhile, Dante Forsberg having trouble into the penultimate turn, just kisses the wall, but I think clipped the grass on turning there. It's an old school racetrack where even if you're just slightly wide, then you'll clip the grass, and that will cause you trouble coming into every corner around here. There's no tarmac to be seen.
there's a whole rhythm thing from Dingledale. That's why, yes, you said Dingledale's the hardest corner of this track. I partially agree. I think it's more like that section between Dingledale and Stirling, because you can get one of them wrong. If you get Dingledale wrong, it will carry into Stirling. It's very hard to find that rhythm for Stirling, which necessarily isn't a particularly difficult corner, because Dingledale directly before it, as you see on the top of the screen here, they flick through the right hand of Dingledale, get back over to that side of the circuit, and then into the left of Stirling. So easy to make that mistake, to clip the grass either on the exit of Dingledale or as you're getting over to the right hand side of the entrance of the Stirling. That section is brutally difficult, and when you kind of think, right, I'm a bit late in the race, I'm just going to take it a little bit easy through there, that's when the car behind thinks, right, I'm going to go for a ascent. And it is not a big braking zone to Stirling, and they always go for that look, and it's difficult. Bit of lap traffic here for a couple of our drivers to go for, as Bohlin and Jokshu are very, very close indeed, as a big look to the outside comes in from Holmer again.
Well, he doesn't do, he overtakes the easy way, Dan Holmer, and he's going again on the outside of Broston. That was a bit of contact too, through turn 2. Jokshu has gotten through, oh dear, and that lap car again in the way. This time Holmer was the one who had to back away. That, by the way, wasn't just lap traffic in towards turn 1, it was your favourite pit exit causing trouble there. That's Nicholas Grahn, who's just spent 6 minutes repairing his car, very nearly got it crashed into straight away as he rejoined the racetrack. I'm pretty sure that was him anyway. He's certainly just rejoined, and very nearly straight away onto the apex of turn 1 as that pit exit puts you, very nearly affecting the battle in the end. I'm not sure whether it was that or whether he was going to do it anyway, but Jokshu does get himself into the top 5.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's a very difficult pit exit, one that all drivers are going to have to get used to for the second race. You're absolutely right, as they start to navigate that back marker from 8th on down. You're absolutely right, what you were saying earlier, there's not really much they can do when it comes to geography, because also they can't actually run the pit exit more to the right hand side, because you have the road that goes underneath the racetrack, which is how they get all the lorries and stuff onto the Grand Prix side of things, or sorry, rather into the pit lane, and it comes from the paddock side, hence being called Paddock Hill. The paddock is actually on the left-hand side as they run down the hill to get all those drivers. So they actually cannot move that pit exit really anywhere, but that won't stop me from complaining about it. So I don't care. It's a horrible pit exit, but it provides much entertainment from a commentator perspective.
It certainly does, and when you know no one's going to get hurt in sim racing, it's extra entertaining, as we just saw there in towards turn 1 a couple of minutes ago. This is not a holdable gap now for Linus Brostrom. He's been under pressure from Dan Holmer for some time, and Holmer refuses to do this pass in a sensible way. Round the outside he goes again, down the bottom of the hill at Hawthorns, and he's got it done. That's the second time he's made that overtake in the last 12 minutes. He hasn't made a conventional overtake this race, but he's made plenty of unconventional ones, and he's back into 8th place again.
Well, I'm not sure it's really coming from his choice. For one, yes, he's trying the flamboyant move, fair enough, but because every time he's trying to look, obviously everyone's just holding the inside line. He's had that from Brostrom, he's had that from Bohlin as well. That, from holding the inside, it's so hard to get around the outside, but he's just fully committed in that Mercedes to giving it a go. It's worked once and has failed the other time. Thankfully, he's still in 8th position. That does mean that once the reverse grid happens for the next race, he'll be starting the next one from 8th position, so at least there's that. He's clearly got his overtaking boots on. He can certainly give it a good go, and he's not afraid to give it another go as we go back up to the battle for the top 5. Jokshu and Oliver Bohlin about to do battle for 5th position. Christian Garros a little bit too far behind Beifeld's teammate.
Yeah, indeed. Gap 3.6 seconds at the front, by the way, for Beifeld. And you are right, Holmer's not exactly spoilt for choice as far as overtaking chances are concerned. He's rather having to take what he's given. And he's doing it rather well, moving up to 8th. We'll see how much further he can get. Probably Garros might be his limit unless these two start fighting. Jokshu and Oliver Bohlin, remembering that there is only 6.5 minutes remaining in this race, and that is not going to be very many laps. In fact, it's going to be 5 laps to go now as Marcus Beifeld just makes his way over the line to complete lap number 10. We were expecting to get 15 laps. It looks like that is what we're going to get here for this opening race of the day. The reverse grid race coming up after this. 44-minute feature race with an inverted top 15, as we always see, and a pit stop more than likely required too, with a 50% fuel restriction. Expecting to see that at some point through the middle third of the race. Not expecting anybody to be able to save the fuel to make it all the way, but we'll throw it out there as a possibility just in case it happens one day, because it may well do. As Oliver Bohlin got very loose out of turn number 2 a moment ago, he's putting the pressure back onto Zhu after being overtaken earlier, but he's not getting close, maybe until now.
Whoa! Yeah, this is surely going to be the opportunity for Bohlin to come through. Big snap of oversteer. Heading onto the Grand Prix loop from Jokshu, was way too deep going into Surtees. A look to the outside for the BMW M4, but not brave enough to try it to the outside. Backs out, looks for the up and under going through Westfield, going up towards Westfield Bend, rather going through Hawthorns. It is still the Mercedes ahead. I mean, that was probably about as good an opportunity as Bohlin's going to get, but I think he almost was maybe a little bit too close. And he got to this point, had to lift out of it, didn't carry the speed off the corner. If he was that, this is one of those ones, if he was a tiny bit further behind, if he was a little bit worse in the opening portion of the lap, that move would 100% have happened.
Yeah, well, and/or if he'd have known Zhu was going to save it, he might have been able to be a bit braver and get closer. But when you're in the moment, you're not entirely sure whether you're going to crash into the guy who's about to have an accident in front of you, which may have contributed to his caution at the time. Oh dear, Robert Carlson, meantime, smacks the wall coming down the hill here at turn 2. That was, I don't know who that was with actually, but it's damaged the McLaren on the front end there. So dropping down the field to 28. He's actually the last driver on the lead lap now and might be legitimately lapped. That's something to talk about maybe for race number 2, that the leaders may well be negotiating a lot of lap traffic, not through damage repair or whatever, but through pure speed, because this racetrack is so short.
Yeah, I do believe they will be dealing with their fair share of lap traffic in the second race. So they're already not that far away from lapping a few cars in this one. Obviously, when you bring different strategies and whatnot, and a longer race, more tyre wear, more fuel conservation and such from some of those further back, you are absolutely going to have to deal with some form of lap traffic in those final 10 to 15 minutes, as Daniel Holmer, bottom of your screen, is going to find his way past and does get past Gyros. So I do think that is absolutely about as good as it's going to get, as you were quite rightly pointing out, unless this battle for 5th at the top of your screen has a big old whopper in it. They've got 3 laps to do it, so you never know. It's very possible.
Yeah, they do have 3 laps. 3 minutes, but 3 laps, so you never know. Based on what we've seen so far from Oliver Bohlin, I'm not sure he is going to go for broke here, but let's see. As far as the championship is concerned, Beifeld, of course, is going to just extend his lead very slightly to Lindhoff at the moment. The best of the rest, Holmer and Sundstrom are rather fighting for that. And Mikkel Sundstrom is going to overtake Holmer after this race, because he's having a very solid podium drive, is Mikkel Sundstrom, and Holmer has rather had an eventful drive to 7th, it looks like. So that's going to be a reversal there for 3rd in the championship. As they, as I say, fight for best of the rest, really. Unofficial title, of course, that I'm giving them, but it's another world to Marcus Beifeld and Henrik Lindhoff so far in this season. The only 2 to have won races, and Marcus Beifeld has won a lot of them. This would be his 9th if he is to close this one out in the next 2 laps. And Jokshu has got to do quite a job to close this one out as well. He's got Bohlin behind him, piling on the pressure. He does seem to hold the control at the moment, Jokshu, but there's still 2 laps here, and there's still 2 laps for things to go wrong, although Bohlin just went wide himself.
Yeah, and this circuit is open to those kinds of mistakes, even though, you know, she's now got nearly a second back to Oliver Bohlin. That could, allow him to have a bit of a breather. May not actually be the best thing. That's where you can get a little bit complacent and make the mistake. This is our race leader, who is 4 seconds clear of Henrik Lindhoff. We'll have to start the next race though, as long as he crosses the line in 1st place, from 15th. And this is what I'm saying, 15th to 1st on a normal track is pretty tough. Around here, almost impossible. It is brutal. One thing they definitely won't be dealing with, there'll be no tyres dealt with in the pit stop. It will only be fuel. But Yeah, he's not going to be a fun race. Well, I don't think it might be a fun race for Piper, to be fair, as Marcus Stiller goes for a bit of a spin and hits the barrier.
He's not been having a great road series this time as Marcus Stiller. He's gone a lap down, actually, with that spin. As with about 50 seconds to go, Marcus Byfeld sees the white flag. Stiller only 29th in the points, despite being at every round so far. There's only 4 drivers who have less points after attending that many races. Stiller, of course, does rather do this with one hand time behind his back, starting from the back end of the field every race, but nevertheless, normally is able to pick his way through the field very, very well. There you can see the movers and shakers all through, and that does kind of show you a point about overtaking here. 4 of the top 4, well, the top 4 indeed, have stayed where they are from qualifying. Daniel Holmer has returned back to where he was, although he's been up and down a bit like a yo-yo at times in this race. Only a few in that top 10 really able to gain lots of places. And look how spread out the field is as well. If you get caught behind someone for a while, the time gap to the leader, whoever that's going to end up being in the early laps of race number 2, that gap is really going to expand quickly. But that's all to worry about in a moment for Marcus Byfeld. For now, he can enjoy a race victory. His 9th of the season in just 11 starts here at Brands Hatch. It's the first part of the job done. Through the final turn, his championship lead expands again as Marcus Byfeld wins for the 9th time in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Road Series in 2026. Another dominant display. His start was immaculate, and after that there was no going back for the rest of them.
I mean, what can you say about Marcus Byfeld? He's incredible, isn't he? For another dominating performance. Lindhoff, it was a solid drive for second. Just, again, not really spoken about. Same with Sundstrom. None of those top 3 made any real major mistakes. It was just a pretty calm drive for them onto the podium, all separated by equidistant gaps. For Daniel Holmer, I was going to say this. Yes, he's not gained any positions. He's finished the race where he started, but that is not the story of the race day really for him. I think he'll sit there and think he definitely should have been in the top 5, maybe even challenging for 4th place with Oliver Rosefish, but that's just not how it unfolds, and sometimes that's just what you've got to deal with. Got to say though, for it'll be Thomas Cannell, 15th position. He'll be the one starting from the reverse grid pole, so best of luck in the next one.
Yep, he will have the big chance. Marcus Byfeld, though, wins here from race 1, 5.4 seconds in front of Henrik Lindhoff, and then Mikael Sundstrom joins them on the podium. Oliver Rose, Christian Jock Schue round out the top 5. Schue holding off Bohlin in the end there pretty comfortably. Holmer getting back to 7th where he started. Christopher Geros, Linus Broström and Marcus Hagman rounding out the field. In fact, only 700 separating them. Joachim Svensson wasn't far away. Jonas Gunnarsson then next in 12th in front of Kenneth Cheer. Adam Alterwill got caught in the lap 1 crash after qualifying quite well and still returned to 14th. So he'll benefit from the reverse grid. Great drive from him, and Lucas Olsson is credited with 15th. So maybe he'll be on pole.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's see what the actual grid says when we get back going again, because different results in different places at the moment. Thomas Cannell there, 16th here with Lucas Filipkovsky, then Kalle Wallingström, Jock Frisk and Patrick Pfeffer, who started from the back, getting up to 20th. Johan Öberg was caught in lots of things there, still finished 21st in front of Pontus Norgren, Bjorn Broström, Christopher Dahlström, Dante Forsberg were all on the lead lap. Mikael Pennings, Marcus Stiller and Robert Carlson were passed 1 lap down on pure pace. The others had damage at some point. Nicholas Grahn, Samu Kollersmere, as well as Frederick Mafson, Hackenschott and Gabriel Norberg. That is race 1 complete here in the K6 Racing Grand Prix here from Brands Hatch. The 45-minute feature race coming up after this. Welcome back to Brands Hatch for race number 2 in a couple of moments' time of the K6 Racing Grand Prix here, the third last round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. This GT3 season coming to a close. Marcus Beifeld leading by some margin and extending his championship lead over the rest. Myself, Ian O'Leary, Lewis McGlade taking you through the action tonight. Romeo Agustin-Cisneros behind the cameras. This is the race I think that we've been looking forward to a little bit more, though, Lewis. Not that the first race was actually pretty entertaining all throughout for a circuit that can get a reputation for rather stale races. That was a pretty good opener. This second race, though, is fascinating. We've got a driver at the front of the championship who's on a winning streak of multiple rounds in a row. The last time he didn't win a round, or a race, sorry, was the 5th of February. I know we race every 2 weeks, but that's still a long time ago. This is going to be perhaps his biggest challenge yet, though, in that run of races he's on.
So you saying that this race is only going to be entertaining because Marcus Beifeld might not win it? No, fair enough. That's I respect it. No, you're absolutely right. Even just from to win this race, you kind of have to be pretty perfect. You've got to have great fuel mileage so that you're not coming into the pit lane and stopping for too long. You've got to nail pit entry and exit, both of which are high risk. I mean, we've spoken quite a little bit about pit exit and how difficult it is. Pit entry, they don't have to navigate the chicane, I believe, but they do have to basically slow down on an apex of a really fast right-hand corner. So that's fun. You've got to keep out of trouble in that opening lap, where there was a crash in the previous race, right in the middle of the pack, which is exactly where Marcus Beifeld and the likes will be starting. This race has a lot to build itself up for. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'm very curious to see who's going to win. And I say, if I'm thinking about it, I don't actually think Beifeld's going to win this one. I think it's too tough for him to do so. Then again, I could be very wrong.
Yeah, let's see. And by the way, I'm not saying it'll be only entertaining if Beifeld doesn't win, but it might be very entertaining, and you might win.
Dig yourself out of the hole. It's like, no, I'm joking.
I can just see the ground there sinking further and further away. Anyway, Thomas Kinnell is going to be the pole sitter. A bit of wondering about who is going to be on pole. You were right. Thomas Kinnell is on the pole in front of Adam Altewu, who deserves that front row. A great recovery from him in race 1. Kenneth Thier and Jonas Gunnarsson then on row 2 in front of Joachim Svensson and Marcus Hagman, who had their own battle in race number 1. They can resume that from row 3. Linus Brostrom and Christopher Geros on row 4 in front of Daniel Homer and Oliver Bohlin, rounding out the top 10. Jock Shue and Oliver Rosquist will be on row 6 in front of Mikael Sundström, Henrik Lindhoff and Marcus Beifeld starting 15th. Then the rest of them, I'll let the rest of them scroll through on your screen because they are in the same finishing positions as what they were through race 1 on the finishing results. So there they all are on the as I say, makeshift starting grid, if you like, ready for this half formation lap. The one advantage I will say that I think has been very beneficial for whomever has won race 1, whether that be Beifeld or Lindhoff in an evening, because Lindhoff, it has only been Beifeld, but the fact they start on the inside. We used to have a top 10 reverse, which wasn't really very many, and so you could actually pick them off quite easily. The 15, though, is a bit of an advantage even so, because Beifeld does still start on the inside line of all of these races.
Yeah, the only thing is if I were given a choice here at Brands Hatch as to which side I'd rather start on, do you know I'd actually pick the outside? I think you've just got a bit more option there on the outside as to where you can go if something happens ahead of you, and you would be expecting that if you're in the middle of the field. Whereas if you're on the inside, you're kind of locked in, and you have to hope you've got enough room to move to the right-hand side if that crash were to happen. But then you've got all the cars thinking about behind you. I almost feel that you've got a little more control on the outside. So whilst, yes, I do understand you can gain a little more position from there, it's not all roses, though.
No, indeed. Neither row is completely ideal. I think it is the thing around here. Adam Altewu, by the way, hasn't started at all. So he fought really well to get on the front row, but he's not going to start from there. Thomas Kinnell is going to get us underway instead with Jonas Gunnarsson alongside, coming down in towards turn 1. Kinnell holds the lead rather nicely, and Gunnarsson will follow in line. Third will be Marcus Hagman, who gets himself past Kenneth Thier already, and there's already side by side for the lead. Gunnarsson wants to take that lead early, and if he can and he can scamper away, then maybe he's got a chance at a race victory tonight. Thomas Kinnell parts it on the apex of turn 3 as well, as a spin for Christopher Geros in the background will send shockwaves down the field, but it's Kinnell really on the defensive, and Gunnarsson who's going to have the chance to get away.
Byfeld's into the top 10. Henrik Lindhoff, though, is making the progress early, up already to 8th position. Seeing him making some progress in the background. Goodison, though, with a big 1 second lead after 40 seconds of racing, has just been able to pick through on the opening portion of the lap, and Thomas Cannell going side by side with Marcus Hagman, what's allowed him to pull out. Kenneth Thier, who was our sponsor of the Oval Series round in the last one of the Oval Series, of course, didn't have a good race there. But looking to have a better one here. That's the spin for Christopher Guéros. Just solo. Same Nordbrink backwards as well, going into 30s. That's terrifying.
It is rather. Don't know whether to move forwards or backwards. In the end, stay where you are. And he was right, because they were going each way. Here we are. On to Nordgren. Meantime, in live pictures, by the way, on the bottom right of your screen, it is all going on for 4th place. Kenneth Thier is under unbelievable pressure here. Joachim Svensson is one of them coming through, barreling down the inside. Oliver Rosqvist, he was in the top 5 of the previous race, so he's got some pace, and he's going to dive into it. Look at this is madness. And a spin in front of Byfeld. That was contact for the McLaren. We'll see whether there's any damage there, but Byfeld's now stuck side by side with his championship rival Henrik Lindhoff, and Thomas Cannell now goes around. He was defending hard, and they're getting 3 positions here, these championship contenders. There's Cannell rejoining. There's a Mercedes without a front bumper. There's another spin as Kalle Wallingström, I think, gets involved in an incident there. It's all happening up and down the field, and it's hard to know where to look. It was Wallingström involved indeed. He was involved with that Mercedes coming through turn 3. They've all got back going again. These guys are still fighting. Rosqvist is into the top 3 already.
They understand this race has been going on for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? That's absolutely crazy. Whilst all that's happened, Byfeld's actually got ahead of Henrik Lindhoff. So, past his championship rival has Marcus Byfeld using that McLaren power car off in the background as well. Who was that? Was that Holmer?
Yeah, it was Daniel Holmer, and it slowed Byfeld again. So Lindhoff has got a chance to get back past him again. That's teammate assistance he wasn't expecting, I would imagine, as he comes to the outside the final corner. They're touching wheels over the start-finish line. That could have been a very high-speed accident. Byfeld has held on, though, and he's parked it on the apex very well there through turn number 1. They've both gotten some bruises on those cars, though. Byfeld definitely hit the... I can't even remember who it was spinning 1 lap ago now through turn number 2, but he definitely hit them. And Lindhoff has got a little bit of damage to the side as they've been making wheel-to-wheel contact there. They're bruised a little bit, these two, but they're continuing to tear through the field. Yeah,
McLaren versus the mighty Mustang and all of that. Absolutely crazy. This is Kenneth Thier and his spin. That was where the... he might have actually just avoided it there, Byfeld. If he'd have just dropped back, he might have just got past. Speaking of getting past, they're all just passing Linus Broström at the moment, who drops down to 7th position, allows the 2 title protagonists to work their way through. So Byfeld into 5th position, Lindhoff into 6th. There's Cannell's spin. And this is going to get pretty close to the exit, because obviously when he got back going, there was a car very close to him. And that will be this incident that we're about to see here with Wallingström, who goes for a bit of a spin, is collected just a touch. No, I think it's net. There it is. There's the Merc, and he drives forward into the Merc. That's why there was that close, that close shave.
Yeah. So a couple of he did well initially, but unfortunately did get collected a couple of times there in the end. Well, this doesn't show any signs of calming down anytime soon. This battle for 2nd place is on now between Hagman and Rosqvist, who's looking down the inside. I think Oliver Rosqvist, and he's probably right, believes he's got a real chance to go on and win this, because he's ahead of Byfeld and Lindhoff, and he's got a car between them as well. If he can maintain that by getting past Hagman before they get past Svensson, then he could be in a good place, but I'm afraid he's run out of time for that, because Svensson has let his teammate past, as you would expect him to. Marcus Byfeld is now in 4th place within 5 minutes. I think, to be honest, he is still the favourite for this race, but he's still got a lot of obstacles in his way, and here are 2 of them. Rosqvist to the outside of Hagman. Is he going to commit? Not quite as much as Holmer did earlier. That's what you need, though, proper commitment around Hawthorns. And here comes Byfeld now. He looks to the outside of one corner, will turn to the inside for the next, and Dingledell is surely where he's going to seal 3rd place. Marcus Byfeld is already onto the podium.
Yeah, what I meant earlier when I said that Byfeld was going to struggle to win this race, I mean, you know, what I meant was that he was probably going to win this race. That's definitely what I meant by that. No, absolutely incredible. Rosqvist looking back to the outside. Lindhoff trying to carry the speed through. that final corner as they head through clearways and then back out onto the start-finish straight, past the hospitality suites on the left, looks to the inside, try and get past Rosefisk himself, who has contact, a little bit too tightly held. Rosefisk was trying to fend off Lindhoff, and it's him who is sent down the road.
Well, the race-winning dreams evaporating in a lap for Oliver Rosequist. As meantime, Bijveld making one of his last overtakes. If he's going to go on and win this race, this will be one of the last ones. As in the background, Lucas Olsen goes for a spin. Can Hartmann fend him off? Bijveld to the outside. He's going to get squeezed here, and here comes Henrik Lindhoff. It's now or never for him too. He's on the inside with Bijveld. He rather needs to follow Bijveld through on Hartmann in towards this right-hander. Can he do it? It's a big slide from Hartmann, and Lindhoff is going to get away with it. He continues to follow his championship rival, but there's only one more man now for them to overtake, Jonas Gunnarsson, who's leading this race by 3 seconds.
Hartmann's going to have a struggle here. He's going to drop back behind Joachim Svensson. Also, Linus Broström's going to work his way through, potentially even Mikael Sundström as well after that podium in the opening race of the night. Absolute scenes here at West Kingsdown and Kent at Brands Hatch. This is what happened to Lucas Olsen, losing the rear end going through Graham Hill Bend, and will go for a spin. We've seen from a fair few drivers in this race thus far. Right inside your screen, Sundström is going to work his way past Hartmann out of the final corner into Paddock Hill Bend. It's not a great lap, unfortunately, for the black and blue Mustang. The race lead, though, it's already down to 1.8 seconds. Henrik Lindhoff is trying to keep Marcus Bijveld under pressure. Not even 10 minutes into this race, and Bijveld's already into second. Incredible.
I mean, he just does it every week. We think of reasons why he might not be able to do it this time around because of X, Y, and Z, and every time he overcomes them all to get into the lead unbelievably quickly. It seems every week. It's just remarkable. And now he's doing it in the Oval Series, of course, as well. On the alternate weeks, so when we're not racing in the Road Series, we're doing the Oval Series, and he's doing it there too. 13 positions gained. This race is still only 8 minutes old. It's absolutely remarkable from Marcus Bijveld, really is. As I said earlier, it really depends on the start. I mean, imagine if he was still 15th after lap 1. Suddenly it gets very difficult. You wouldn't have been able to make up so many places. Kenneth Tier, for example, is only 13th. He's already 10 seconds off the race lead. That's when it becomes tricky. But every week, Bijveld just picks his way through the traffic off the start so well to give himself the best possible chance, even in these reverse grid races.
This is Linus Broström trying to keep Mikael Sundström and Marcus Hartmann at bay. Hartmann's refining his feet just a little bit. Oliver Rosequist is now back into this fight as well, and 5th is going to be a tall order for anyone to grab off of Linus Broström. Yes, he was sidestepping the fight between Bijveld and Lindhoff, not wanting to get too involved in that. Speaking of Bijveld, by the way, Bijveld's going for the race lead. He's going to work his way through on Jonas Gunnarsson, and he is already at the front of this field. And I don't think Gunnarsson's going to put up too much of a fight to Henrik Lindhoff, his teammate.
Well, I'm surprised the way that was coordinated, actually. I thought he put up much more of a fight to Bijveld, and I thought he'd let Lindhoff straight through with him, but neither of those really happened. Half a second the gap between Bijveld and Lindhoff. That might already be too much, but Gunnarsson's stint in the race lead is over after less than 10 minutes. Smoke in front. Oh, and they didn't. Oh my goodness, I couldn't see Svensson there. Only the smoke. That was nearly catastrophe for a couple of drivers there. I think a couple of them were going side by side. Was it Hartmann and Filip Kotsky who were going side by side and into the smoke? Couldn't actually see where Svensson was. Eventually they all managed to avoid. This is quite some group though, from 4th place on backwards, and here comes Filip Kotsky now to the outside of Hartmann, looking for the cutback and the run down towards turn number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it is certainly the battle pack, and I'm sure that's what you really don't want to see whilst going side by side through one of the fastest corners in British motorsport. So tricky. At the top of the hill, Hartmann's turning straight over the nose of Rosequist, though, who's already had a bit of an issue at this corner after contact between himself earlier on in the race and Lindhoff. Deep into Druids they go, and it will be the Aston Martin getting past the Mustang. Also got Oberg as well, knocking to try and get through. This is what happened to Joachim Svensson, just too much curve on the right-hand side, literally 90 degrees to the battle pack. Hartmann had to absolutely slam on the brakes and drop back in single file. That was terrifying.
I mean, I don't know whether it was just my eyes, but there was a moment there where I couldn't see where he was at all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's very, very scary. Bjorn Broström making a little bit less smoke as he spun through turn 4. Actually taking the Indy layout there. That's where the shortened layout joins up. Just using a little bit of that as he took on his spin. Daniel Holmer is dropping down the field now, by the way. Not sure why, but he is either disconnected or having trouble. I think he's disconnected. I can't see him in the session at all anymore. And that is a real shame if that is the case. He's been royally entertaining so far in these races. It'd be a shame to lose him through a technical problem, but it looks like, unfortunately, that is what's happened a little bit further down. We do already have a time it's further down as well. I don't think Samuel Cosmere even took the start of this second race. Maybe he did. Oliver Wallin, he didn't get very far though, neither did Oliver Wallin, who's further down the field as well. Some long stop for Jock Frisk and Robert Carlson, but they have continued. Less trouble though than at the start of race number 1. Less guys coming in for major damage repair in the reverse grid race than there was in the first race, which is unusual.
They're clearly playing the long game. Unlikely, but potentially. Who knows? But maybe the fact that there wasn't a car 90 degrees to the racetrack going through the opening corner certainly has helped things on that side, but doesn't mean that it's been a particularly easy start to the race for many of our competitors on the field. On board with Mikael Sundström, staring at the back end of that BMW of Linus Broström, 4th position they're fighting for. I think the podium positions have really, they've checked away and most likely will be out of reach. Although Sundström's pace in race 1 might be enough to close down on Jonas Gunnarsson, so maybe it's not fully done, especially with a little bit of back markerage as well. They do have a back marker up ahead with no front on that Porsche as well, so I'm sure there's further drama still to come.
I'm sure there is. Oh dear. Now that's going very slowly on the front straight. That has the look of a car to me that has just cleared its meatball and not the optionals, to be honest. But maybe
Which I'm just going to do the optionals. Just do it. It's fine.
You should just do them. The problem is, you see the 5 minutes, and you think, I can't really be bothered for that.
Yep.
What is it? Back out again.
Me and a mate of mine, Dan Cow, we did the Sebring 12 hours. Definitely someone's had an off in the background. And it might be Christopher Garros, considering when that popped up. That was very good timing. No, I think we did the Sebring 12 hour a few years ago. We had a crash at turn 6, came into the pit lane, and it was like, yeah, you've got 22 minutes to repair. We both thought, nah, I'm not going to do that. Let's see what happened down at turn 1 with that big gravel dust that we saw in the background.
It was, oh wow, that is a big off for Christopher Garros, and he's hit the wall very hard down there. Now, was that contact on the way in there? It looked like it, but couldn't actually see the contact being made. It will have been a hard hit though on that corner, and that's given him a meatball and some lengthy repairs for Christopher Garros. Can I ask who it was, by the way, who crashed in that race?
Dan was the one behind the wheel, wasn't he? Don't worry.
Oh, well done.
And he was dive bombed down to turn 6. Look, the one endurance race that we've done together, we all made the same mistake. I just did it at much higher speed. We all spun going into Bill on that race.
I don't remember doing it, but maybe I did.
I'm sure we all spun. I had the fastest lap of our car though, so eat my dust.
Although I'll maintain that you had the best conditions, but that's.
I did have, no, 100% had the best conditions, but I also did better fuel mileage, so.
Yep. Fine.
That's something, isn't it?
And you weren't meant to be driving in those conditions anyway, but somebody didn't wake up. That's fair. I bet. Yeah. I was going to say, I bet I'll leave you to guess who that is.
Yeah, he's not here today as well, so he's a part-timer on all sides. He's probably watching.
Of course. There was contact indeed from Garros. To be honest, that car was going in at such an angle, I was expecting him to go flying into the air, but thankfully he didn't. This is Kenneth Tier, who's already spun through turn 2 once, and this time on the exit, he spins again. Well, and he doesn't even face the right way afterwards as well. That's awkward. Has to turn himself back round again, and he is, well, remarkably only 14th. He was running about 13th earlier. 2 spins later, still not dropped that far down the field.
it's something. It all adds up. Here's a look to the inside, but Linus Broström's able to fend off Sundström through that. They are both closing in on Jonas Gunnarsson, so this will become the fight. That final step on the podium, and Oliver Röskvist also will be closing in on all of that. I would say those others behind, but I think it's more a fight looking backwards for Marcus Hagman, because he's got Jock Schuh and Johan Oberg. Marcus Stiller has come into the pit lane. That could just be, there might be some damage, fair enough, repair required, but I don't have him having a meatball, so it's not actually mandated by race controller in-game. That could just be a fuel stop to get into the end of the race. I find it unlikely because I feel that you wouldn't just stop the fuel at this point, but there is potential. I mean, certainly can get to the end of the race from here anyway.
Yeah, the window is open, that's for sure. And it is one of those circuits that, despite the fact that running as long as... Oh, and Hagman! That came out of nowhere there. There wasn't any contact, but that Mustang just completely lost grip through the left-hander, the penultimate corner on this racetrack, through Sterling's, and it's like he turned the handbrake on. It was unbelievable. Really spun around quickly there through the left-hander, and thankfully it wasn't that bad actually. As he clipped the gravel, it turned it back round the right way again, and he's still in 10th, but that was a very sudden spin.
There's definitely less grip in this race than there was in the previous. Absolutely thing. And it's one of those ones, if you don't race on iRacing all the time and you maybe haven't noticed, like it does really affect you. So just a little bit on the brakes, clip the curb too much on the left-hand side. You really don't want to touch that curb on the left-hand side either. But the amount of spins that we've had in this race, I would definitely suggest the grip level is lower. It's not aided by the fact that every time someone has a spin, they drive onto the grass, they bring some of that dirt back onto the racetrack, causing dramas. That's what we had in race 1 after that opening corner crash. When we saw the leaders go up towards Druids, they all missed the apex Druids because there was gravel everywhere being dragged back onto the road. Lucas Olsson, black flag to his name. That will be most likely for excursions of the circuit and contact. Has breached that 20 instant point limit in game.
Probably is, yeah. Probably is. He's not in the pit lane, so it's not speeding or anything like that. It is likely to be the instant limit, and we are 20 minutes in, of course, so we're now in uncharted territory. Well, we're nearly in uncharted territory anyway. There is Olsen going off there, so that might have been the nail in the coffin, that moment there through turn 4. Obviously unsure of that because we don't have the incident counts to hand, but that might have been it, especially if you're in the mid-pack, as he is, and bumping and barging. 4x is 20% of your instant count gone in one moment, so it can happen very quickly. Here comes Mikael Sundström, third in the previous race. He's not been able to join the other two, Beifeld and Lindhoff, quite as closely as maybe he would have liked, but he is ahead of Oliver Röskvist, who he had to fight off in that previous race. Linus Broström's going to be a difficult overtake, and of course Jonas Gunnarsson will be as well, but Sundström is not looking in a bad place for a two-podium night.
As I say, given it all this chat of how hard the circuit is to overtake at and how unlikely it is that we're going to see back-to-back wins, we might see the exact same top 4 2 races in a row. If Beifeld, obviously, and Lindhoff remain as they are, and I do suspect pace-wise they are most likely going to remain that way round. Sundström gets through in the third, Röskvist gets through in the fourth. That's it, man. Same top 4 as the previous races. Hagman trying to hold on to the back end of the top 10 as Adam Altawell's come from the pit lane into the top 10, but a big move down the inside at Clearways. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, well, if a couple of moments had gone differently from Adam Altawell tonight, he could have had at least 2 top 10s, maybe more, because he didn't start this race on the racetrack. He started from the pit lane after being given the front row with the reverse grid, and of course he had that moment on lap 1 in the previous race as well. So had those 2 moments gone differently, this night could have gone very differently for Adam Altawell, but he's back to the top 10 now and has made good progress to get there indeed. Here comes Mikael Sundström again. Linus Broström is on the chopping block and coming towards halfway. He's not going to be diving down the inside here, Sundström. We might have reached the stage in the race where people are just going to wait for the stops now, because they're only probably going to run for 10 minutes more at maximum. That's not too long to wait if you think you can save a little bit of fuel, have a shorter pit stop than the guy in front of you, and forget the pain of actually going through on the racetrack in the first place.
This because of the momentum carried around the Grand Prix loop and even through like Paddock Hill up towards Drifts. This is actually, relatively speaking, one of the easiest circuits to save a pretty hefty amount of fuel, because there's quite a few points like Paddock Hill, for example. You can kind of lift off really early into that corner and just carry the speed through. Don't go on the brake too much, just let the car roll through the turn. You could do so quite easily. There's a look to the inside from Sundström. Still doesn't find the pass on Broström. Now he's behind Gunnarsson. This might actually slow Broström down. But yeah, so you can control that fuel number a fair amount. The thing is, you don't... Oh! Spin in the background from Rosefist. That is him round, and so we won't get a top 4 repeat from the previous race, at least at that. What I was going to say, though, is you want to leave your pit stop as late as possible. If you've got clean air ahead of you, relatively speaking, i.e. no major back markers, you do not want to stop out early, because if you do, you're likely going to come across a lot of people that you have to battle through that are all will be for position, but well out of position, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. You might be stuck in one group up the front of the field, but it's worse to be stuck in one that's further down the field. They will be going slower, and so you don't want to pit early for the sake of it, that's for sure. So the top 4 being the same in both races has probably gone away now, although Rosquist's not actually that far away, in 7th now. Sundström has still got a real job to do here as well. It's so it feels like we're watching a different race when you compare what we're seeing here for Sundström trying to get past Broström and Gunnarsson, and you remember back to what it was like for Beifeld and Lindhoff doing this. I mean, it looked like they were in a GTE, to be honest, the way they were going past. Sundström, this feels a bit more like it. This feels evenly matched. This feels, tricky to overtake, as it should be around here. And so if he's going to get that second podium of the night, he's going to have to work very hard for it.
I do feel with like Beifeld and Lindhoff coming through, though, I do personally think they have a bit of an easier time of it coming through this part, especially in that early stages. We saw it with Linus Broström, right? He saw Beifeld go through. As soon as he didn't fight Lindhoff. He was like, right, no, I'm not going to... You're in a very different fight, so one of you's got through, you might as well both get through. Off you go, see you in a bit, chat to you at the end of the race, don't worry about it. Filipovsky's, by the way, I think he's had a bit of a moment and has dropped back behind Oberg and Alterwill, so back into 10th position for the 2-1-2. Kind of in that major moment, but certainly has had one. So there is that as well. That's probably going to assist them in looking like they're in a different class when some of the competitors and stuff aren't really putting up too much of a fight. And also, they just don't really make any major mistakes. So when they're cutting through, they're still hitting on the apex, still getting on the speed, and not doing things like this. Filipovsky out wide at Surtees after having a big old slide going into the corner. Just did not get that car slowed down comfortably.
No, certainly didn't. And in the meantime, we go back to the battle for third again. Past halfway now, and here comes Sundström. He's not waiting for the stops, and he's nearly played dominoes with the two of them in front. He nearly hit Broström, who nearly went into Gunnarsson. In the end, he just stopped in time, but that's a show of intent. I really thought he'd just be waiting for the stops now and just try and get a shorter amount of fuel, or a lesser amount of fuel rather, into that car so he can jump them both the easy way. But that was a show of intent that, no, actually, I'm going to try and do this on the racetrack before we have to come in the next 5 minutes.
I mean, I do get the wanting to do it on the racetrack. Marcus Stiller, by the way, getting a black flag. That'll be for, again, instant point limit and breaching that one. I do get wanting to try and get through on track. You want to kind of lead them into pit lane, have that a bit more control. But, yeah, it's a really tricky position for Sundström because he wants to go for a move on Broström. But every time Broström goes on the attack himself, he's obviously defending a little bit from Sundström. When he defends from Sundström, he's going to look like he's going on the attack from Gunnarsson's point of view. I mean, Broström's kind of stuck in the middle. And the other thing to think about here is that Gunnarsson is sat there with two cars right in his rear end, kind of delaying when he can go into the pit lane, because he's sat there thinking, well, I can't get through into pit lane without one of you two taking me out.
And again, the fact that he did that last lap, Sundström, is making them nervous that he's going to do it again into turn 2, and this is going to slow the whole group down. Luckily, Jokshu's not that close. He's only 5 seconds behind. and he's going to be under pressure from Oliver Rosquist pretty soon anyway. Oh, that's wide from Gunnarsson. A chance for Broström there, but it's actually a pretty good exit. That wasn't a very good line at all from Jonas Gunnarsson, but it seems he's got away with it.
Looked like Cameron Roger just jumped behind the wheel, but no, he's on holiday. Don't worry about it. That was very wide from Jonas Gunnarsson, and he's not particularly fast at the top of the hill at Hawthorns either. Going through Westfield Bend, almost getting a BMW M4 right slam bang into the rear end. It's allowing the Aston Martin Mikael Sundström to get very close indeed, extremely close. Going through Dingledale once more, now into the left-hander at Sterling's. It is still the Porsche of Jonas Gunnarsson hanging on to third position, but all the question marks now are how much longer, because those two behind are getting extremely feisty and getting very close indeed.
That was quite a sight from that rear view camera, wasn't it? A close-up of the worst front end of the GT3 in history.
Agreed.
That's quite a sight. Sick bags at the ready. Sundström can't get close enough to follow though. There was even a slight bit of contact through the Grand Prix circuit back then between Gunnarsson and Broström. So fascinating as it always is in the GT3s to watch how these cars are different, fast in different ways. Porsche clearly skipping off the corners pretty well. We saw Gunnarsson even make a mistake into here but get away with it because he's so strong off this corner. But through the higher speed stuff, Porsche does sometimes struggle. And Sundström this time has got a good exit off of turn 4. Down towards Hawthorns. He's got the inside indeed, and Broström breaks early. Mikael Sundström does finally have 4th place.
Didn't fancy hanging that one on the outside of Hawthorns Bend. The cloud coverage coming over, so the track temperature is going to drop a little bit. And we're approaching those pit stops now. Whilst that BMW M4 is pretty ugly, got to ask you, what would you rather be seen behind the wheel of? That BMW M4 GT3 car or a different GT3, potentially the Prius GT3?
Oh, I would.
It's not really a Prius GT3, but it is GT3 sort of, isn't it?
It is ish.
Yeah.
It races competitively against GT3s. So
yeah, but I don't think it's not homologated to race in like GT World Challenge, for example. Which, by the way, I would pay good money to see.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't even think the Prius races in Japan anymore. I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
Very sad. Very sad. But there you go.
Rest in peace, True Soldier.
That's something I'd pay a lot of money for in iRacing.
Yeah,
but that's also something I'm not going to get. So there you go. Balfour Knife has been changing a lot while we've been nattering. Philip Kutsky has got it now, but Johan Oberg has been challenging him, and here's the battle for third again. Gunnarsson without such a good exit off turn 4 this time, and the Aston has the legs on the straight. Sundström has completed his run to third, and as long as he can keep those two behind him now, he's going to get 2 podiums in one night.
And for Sundström there, right in the rear end of Gunnarsson, had one opportunity, his first opportunity to get through. Boom, came straight through, flying through, and now has 15 minutes to see this one out. One major speed bump forward will be the pit stops, and when you do that one, you've also got battles towards the back end of the top 10. Johan Oberg is the one currently hanging on to that one, but of course we're questioning when those pit stops happen, and boom, for 4th and 5th, that answer is now.
Clever. Well, will this just put the seed of doubt into Sundström? I've just taken them on the racetrack. Now they're coming into pit lane. Are they going to get back past me again?
No.
Well, let's see who jumps the other. First of all, is Broström going to get ahead of Gunnarsson for a start in the pit lane? They were followed by quite a few as well. We must be reaching the limit here as Adam Outerwood goes past them. Broström's rolling first, but not soon enough to get past Gunnarsson. Here's the entry, by the way. I think there might have been contact here on the way in. What's the speed limit? He just about slows it up in time without getting into the Porsche, but they are pretty much as they were nose to tail on the way in, exactly the same on the way out. Broström applying the pressure to Jonas Gunnarsson for what surely is going to be only 4th place.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because they're only taking fuel on these pit stops, the undercut doesn't work, because of course the overcut at the moment, what drivers are currently driving around, they're driving around on less fuel but on the same tyres, the same tyre wear as everyone else around them, so definitely the overcut has the bigger advantage here, and potentially even some clean air. The only way that the undercut really works is if there's a lot of cars battling around each other. For Gunnarsson and Broström, it was extremely close to the pit lane. And off of it as well, there was almost a look from Broström going up the hill into Druids. Henrik Lindhoff and Mikael Sundström both worked their way into pit lane, and interestingly enough, despite all the speed, clearly that's translating into some solid fuel mileage. Marcus Byfeld continues out on the racetrack.
He does, yeah. Faster than the rest and more fuel efficient as well.
Yep.
Pretty remarkable. Henrik Lindhoff is comfortably second. Sundström is out and he leaves the pit lane now. Hero Gunnarsson and Broström just over the line. They are a good few seconds behind. As you say, the undercut not really a thing because of the higher fuel load, but you just never know on the in-lap whether Sundström was going to have trouble. As long as he didn't have a disaster on that in-lap, then he was always going to keep third. That's exactly what he's done. And if he can hold on for the next 12.5 minutes, I think that concludes a pretty successful evening for him.
Yeah. I will say, by the way, when it comes to Byfeld continuing on longer, having better fuel mileage, and potentially even better tyres than everyone else, very realistic. Look at Lewis Hamilton in like the early hybrid era races. Always had better tyre wear, always had great fuel mileage. And part of that comes from when you're actually at the limit like that, you're like everything in the car is being used as efficiently as possible. And it is one bit of advice that you'll get from a lot of instructors if you go towards driving instructors and stuff in sim racing and looking for a little bit of coaching, is quite a lot of them will tell you to start looking after fuel and tyres. The reason being is that when you start looking after those two things, you start kind of bringing the car a bit more into a working window where the tyre temperatures are right in the window, where you're not driving it in too deep and slamming on the throttle on the way out. You're being a little more smoother with the inputs, and by being that bit more, courteous with the fuel tank and with the right foot, you actually end up going that little bit faster because everything is just being more efficiently used in the car. So it's always a good shout. If you're ever curious for where to get some more speed, try and fuel save a little bit, weirdly enough.
Yeah, try less hard. Is often a good bit of advice. It can make you go faster. Gunnarsson holds off Broström. It just all goes hand in hand, doesn't it? You save a little bit of fuel and tyres, and you go a little bit faster. You go a little bit faster, and as you say, you're using everything a little bit more efficiently. It's not as counterintuitive as it seems on the surface. In any case, even if Byfeld was burning fuel much quicker than everybody else, it doesn't really matter. He is much quicker than the rest. He is more than 16 seconds ahead of the rest now. There is probably a case of Lindhoff giving up a little bit in terms of giving chase to Byfeld once that gap goes over a certain margin. But even so, he is a robot, is Marcus Byfeld, and he is continuing to extend his lead in what may well be his 10th win of the season. In a remarkable run that he is having. It would be his 8th in a row as well, sweeping Laguna Seca, Monza, Interlagos, and it would be Brands Hatch too. Who's going to finish 4th is probably the interesting point, and Gunnarsson is not as it stands because Linus Broström gets to his inside. Oliver Rosequist and Jock Shu are catching quickly, but this battle looks like it might be settled right now. Linus Broström down the inside and through into 4th position.
4 different manufacturers going to get involved in this fight. BMW versus Porsche versus Aston Martin versus Mercedes as well. The move is held by the 71 of Linus Broström, but I don't think that is all she wrote. We've got 9 minutes and 50 seconds left to go. Some big track limit excursions there coming through Graham Hill Bend, and a big look to the outside coming in from Gunnarsson. Is it going to be too deep for either one of these two currently fighting 4th position? The up and under going to go the way of the 33. He's now picking up the slipstream right on to the light flash button indeed. That macro being set and spammed at the moment by the Porsche driver, trying to fill the mirrors, going up to the top of Hawthorns Hill.
Well, is it going to be a case of Broström now returning to his normal pace, i.e. a little bit quicker than Gunnarsson and starting to pull away? Or is he going to get dragged into this battle where strange things can happen and you can start looking in the mirrors a little bit too much? Well, on the early evidence, he is pulling a couple of car lengths here, and Oliver Rosequist might be able to help him. Not that he'll be trying to do that, of course. Rosequist is just trying to make the top 5 himself, but a battle with Gunnarsson helps Broström as things stand. Less than 9 minutes to go over the line, not too long remaining, so everything's got to happen on a very short time scale now. And Broström has pulled some car lengths over Gunnarsson. It does seem that he's quicker, and he's finally able to show that.
I mean, yes, short time scale, fair enough, but realistically, still quite a lot of laps. This is the thing with this circuit, because it is so short. as a lap, relatively speaking, you fly through them so quickly. You actually do have quite a lot of opportunities into each of these corners to go and look for something, to go and give something a go, and to maybe close that one up, close it down, close it, and get your way through. There's a lot more chance in the racing, at least, to close those laps down. Obviously, there's not really many opportunities to find your way past on the lap, but like I say, I think this battle is definitely far from done. You're right, if Linus Broström can re-find his speed that he's been losing whilst being sat behind Jonas Gunnarsson, this battle really should be over before it's even started. But I mean, Gunnarsson's not really going anywhere. That's it. He's just gone a little bit too deep at Westfield Bend. Still single file here through the Grand Prix loop, and Oliver Rosqvist is right there and ready to pounce, but nowhere for him to go through right now. He's requiring a mistake potentially from Jonas Gunnarsson. They work their way back up the hill with 20 seconds in the race lead from Marcus Byfeld. He is very much in control with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. Henrik Lindhoff in second position, Mikael Sundström in third. Those we will not see before the end of the race. For everyone, fourth on back though. I think now I can sit here, Ewan, and think that the battle for fourth, yeah, it's pretty much done now. Jonas Gunnarsson, a little bit too far off the back.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's refusing to go away properly, but it looks like it might well be over. Yeah, that top four being the same both times is not quite going to happen either, which is a little bit of a shame. I would, after our talking earlier about the difficulty in overtaking, it would have been hilarious, I think, to see the top four be the same both times, but doesn't look like that's quite going to happen. Rosqvist has done a good job to recover from his spin, though. And get back even to where he is now. I mean, a top five is very realistic. He does have laps remaining, only just 6 minutes though, to make his way past the Porsche and get back to what for him would be a second top five in one night, which would be a pretty good result for him as well.
Yeah, a solid visit to West Kingsdown, and a great couple of races. Obviously, the first race to fourth is pretty understated. Wasn't really involved in any major battles. This one though, much tighter. Vallingstam got a penalty, as did Hackenschott for this spin there. That would push him over the instant point limit. Vallingstam's into the pit lane to serve that. Oh, okie dokie. That was close.
That wasn't a good read, I'm afraid.
Saying it nicely.
Yes. Hackenschott has to come into pit lane. He's not going to lose any places. He's 2 laps ahead of the driver in front. Oh, here it is again. Sorry. Yeah, not ideal. Good avoidance from that Mustang driver, whoever that was, to make their way through on the inside. It was one of the nearly on pace drivers, although not, of course, the two who are going to be on the podium at the end of today, Byfeld and Sundström. It's also going to extend their lead in the point standings, by the way, for teams. Byfeld and Sundström on one team, fighting Lindhoff and Holmer effectively on another, and they have both been beaten, both halves have been beaten, if you like, by the other for nearly on pace. That will extend their advantage from 32.2 as it was at the start of the day even further. We'll keep an eye on it in the last 2 rounds, but it looks like nearly on pace are holding that advantage. Here comes Jokshu down the inside of Rosqvist, who would have been hoping he can look forward and get forward into a top 5 position. He's not able to do it though, and Jokshu's able to come down the inside. It's pretty close. He is on the inside for the next corner though, Rosqvist, and he can't stay there. Jokshu gets past, and I've got to say that comes as a surprise to me. Yeah,
obviously, that probably has come as a surprise to Rosqvist as well, who is sat behind the wheel thinking about going on the attack. Didn't have the opportunity because that Mercedes made the move stick first. Is there going to be an opportunity to come back? No, there is not. The FZR car's going to have to remain in 7th position. Did see another one of those drive-through penalties handed out. So we've had Marcus Hagman added to quite a long list of drivers who have received drivers. You said it right at the start of the night, though. Certainly is something to look in this race. was those drivers breaching instant points. They only get 20 instant points over the race before they get a drive-through penalty, and it is very easy to accrue that many in 44 minutes of racing.
And it's the same number for race 1 and 2, so that's why it's so strenuous for this race, because in the other half of the day you've got 20 minutes to use those 20, and that's fine. But a little bit more strenuous here. Yokashu is looking for a top 5 now. He dives it down the inside of Gunnarsson, who's actually pushed so far wide that Oliver Rosequist might well get through as well. He's not going to let it happen easily, but Rosequist is down the inside and returns to 6th again. Gunnarsson gets close though, nearly gets into the back of him, and he's not going to go lying down. This is going to take them both out of contention for a top 5. Rosequist goes off again, and he's down to 7th. Gunnarsson wanted that position back badly, and he has got it back with a little bit of contact.
Yeah, that was a very British touring cars-esque move, season finale style. Maybe a little bit over the line there from Gunnarsson as Valexam's returned into the pit lane. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the race, so we'll have another couple of laps after this one. So this was the move that was effectively completed there from the Aston Martin of Rosequist. Straight down the inside, bit of contact. I mean, I think it was aggressive from Gunnarsson, but the thing is, he hit the apex, didn't run off the circuit on the exit. So in technical terms, when it comes to the regulations, it's legally fair, I believe.
Yeah, I don't see too much wrong with it, to be honest. Although, as you say, it was definitely aggressive. There's no getting away from that. Let's see whether Rosequist has got time to come back for another bite. I'm not sure he has. I think the white flag's coming out next time round, and that will probably be too soon for those further back. But Marcus Beitfeld is, well, certainly draining my vocabulary. He's got another race win waiting for him, surely, as the battle behind for Adam Altawil is, a big dive at turn 1. These guys nearly a minute off the race leader here, so they've only just taken 2 laps to go. But that's another dive down the inside from Adam Altawil. If we assume he started dead last from the pit lane, that's place number 24 gained in this race.
Oh, what a big slide off the corner. He might not be able to hold this one all the way up towards Surtees, and Filipkovsky's going to send it straight back to the inside, going to run in a little bit too deep here, and the 296 is going to go back up and under, and we're going to have yet another drag race up Hawthorns Hill. We've had a few of these tonight. Adam Altawil, though, should have the pace advantage. He's got to send it around the outside, but after all the hard work to get to this point, didn't fancy it, and the Aston Martin's in way too deep anyway. Freebie there for Adam Altawil to get past Lucas Filipkovsky.
That was rather free. A position gain there. Adam Altawil moving up to 8th. I mean, what could have been if he just started from the front row? Could have he held on, maybe? Well, maybe not. Marcus Beitfeld is tearing through, but you never know. You never know. There's an alternate universe where Beitfeld doesn't find it quite so easy on these opening laps to tear through the field, but within 10 minutes almost, he was right at the front again. It's just staggering that in 45 minutes he can go from halfway down the field, which is effectively where you are in 15th, to the front, and able to pull out nearly half a minute over the rest of the competitors within just 3/4 of an hour. It's remarkable from Marcus Beitfeld again. The Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan Road Series has rather belonged to him this season. It's his 8th win in a row, his 4th round sweeping both races. Here at Brands Hatch, in race number 12, he wins again in the K6 Racing Grand Prix. He's surely our champion in waiting now, even if he will have to wait some time to seal it mathematically. He is pulling away from Henrik Lindhoff week after week after week, and at the moment there's nothing that anybody can do to stop him. In fact, Lindhoff might be stopping. Is he slowing down with the lack of fuel here, or what's going on? I think he might be just coasting to the finish line.
I think he's low on fuel. It's going to be a bit of a drag, but he'll be able to hang on a second, just about. But I do believe he was pretty low on fuel. Sundström then into 3rd, so we have the same top 3 as the previous race, and whilst that racing's all come to a close, there's plenty up and down the order. Rosequist will be a little bit too far behind Gunnarsson as those all cross the line, but this here, the battle for 11th, we've got Svensson, we've got Hardman, who's had a drive-through penalty. Those two will be doing battle for 11th spot, and I think there might be a bit of a drag race between the pair of them. A lot of damage on the front of Joachim Svensson after we've seen a couple of incidents from him during this race.
There certainly is. Don't forget these two fought for 10th late on in the previous race, and here they are again for 11th this time. Hagman with a good exit. Is he going to get there? It's a photo finish, and he just runs out of space. A third of a tenth of a second. Jochen Svensson beats him to 11th. That behind, by the way, was Daniel Holmer. It wasn't a three-way battle, but yeah, goodness me. A close finish down the back end of the lead lap. It's Marcus Beifert, though, who is continuing his mission to give us not very many close finishes this season. Nearly half a minute in front of Henrik Lindhoff in the end. He was running out of fuel towards the end, so Mikko Sundström nearly got second. In the end, it is the same podium as it was for race 1. Linus Broström and Jock Schuh round out the top 5, with Jonas Gunnarsson eventually 6th after battling his way back past Oliver Rosqvist at the end there, as we saw. Adam O'Toole, Lucas Filipkowski and Johan Oberg round out the top 10. Jochen Svensson only just got there in front of Hagman in the end. One lap down for Patrick Pfeffer in front of Kenneth Chia and Christopher Dalstrand, who round out the top 15. Thomas Kinnell went from 1st to 16th in the end, so one worse off than he was actually in race number 1 there, despite starting from the front. Dante Forsberg, Gabriel Norberg, Nicholas Gran and Pontus Norgren round out the top 20. Daniel Holmer was 1 lap down after his technical issue halfway through the race, nearly 2 laps down. Bjorn Broström was 2 down with Hakan Schock. Caleb Angstrom 3 down with Marcus Stiller. Jochen Frisk, I believe, did get to the end there, and Robert Carlson also at least completed more than half the race. Lucas Olsen, Christopher Geros, Mikael Pennings, and Samuel Collismere and Oliver Wallin all competed very few laps in that race. Let's first of all, shall we, chat to two-time podium sitter Mikkel Sundström, who can join us now. Mikkel, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on 2 third-place finishes tonight from Brands Hatch. What were you expecting from tonight in the way of overtaking? I must say that from the commentary box, there was more overtaking, more action than we could have even hoped for, in my opinion anyway. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. This track is pretty... It's pretty tight. It's not a lot of space for these cars to do their thing. So it was exciting, but it's pretty stressful.
Well, I can absolutely imagine. The 2 third-place finishes get you into 3rd overall in the championship as well, with Daniel Holmer finishing a little bit further down. Just is that much of a target for you, or are you targeting individual race results at this point in the season?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get as far up as possible. I mean, 3rd in the championship is realistically the only thing I can aim for. Obviously, we want to get as high up as we can in the team championship as well. But yeah, I mean, 3rd place is, like I've said before, is basically a win at this point.
I was going to ask about the teams quickly as well before we let you go. 32.2 was the gap at the end of last race. I'm presuming it will be bigger than that now because of tonight's results. How comfortable are you feeling about the advantage you hold with 2 rounds to go?
I mean, you're never comfortable, right? We're not going to take anything for granted. We're going to keep fighting until the last race. I think that's kind of how we deal with things.
Well, congratulations on getting to 3rd place twice tonight at Brands Hatch, Mikkel, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That is Mikkel Sundström, who finishes 3rd in both race 1 and 2 tonight from Brands Hatch. 4th place in race 2 for Linus Broström, who can join us too. Linus, welcome in. Good to have you with us. 4th place finish in race 2, which we'll talk about first, because we thoroughly enjoyed watching your battle, I've got to say, from up here in the commentary box between yourself and Jock Schuh, who joined in eventually, but mainly Gunnarsson were in there as well. Oliver Rosqvist at times. Sundström was in there too, eventually got away. Just how was that battle in race 2 there, as you fought so hard to work your way past some of those guys?
Yeah, thanks guys. It was amazing. I had so much fun, and racing, with people who coming into the season I didn't expect to be anywhere near. Like they're supposed to be a second quicker than me, but somehow I found pace, and now I'm racing with them and beat most of them today. So yeah, it's really fun, and being able to be this consistent as well throughout the season is just I'm having so much fun in this series right now.
Has it surprised you a little bit the way you've been able to take on this GT3 season? The 2 top 10s tonight brings you to 9 out of 12 for the season, and that top 5 brings you it brings you your 2nd top 5 of the season, and you're now in the top 5 in the championship. Has that surprised you?
Yeah, definitely has. I mean, going into the season, like I talked about before, my goal was to be around the top 15 or P15, maybe get a reverse pole here and there. but now I'm not even close to reverse pole because I'm ahead of it, which is way further up than I was expecting to. But that's all down to Marcus Biefeld and the help that he's given me in practice for the Swedish Championships that we just finished up here. So took some of his tips and used some of his telemetry to figure out how to drive, and it's just made me better here as well. And I don't know, I've not raced road in our league for a couple of years, and it's I don't know why, because I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. You'll be coming back more if this is anything to go by. Congrats on a pair of top 10s again tonight, Linus, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of tonight as well.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for everything you do.
Thanks very much. That is Linus Broström, who finishes in 4th place in race 2 and 8th place in the first race tonight from Brands Hatch. Lewis, I think we got more than our value for money tonight. That was thoroughly entertaining racing all throughout both races in the Road Series tonight.
Certainly was very entertaining indeed. Got some great battling on the circuit. A little bit of silliness, as we kind of expect when they do their battling as hard as they can. I'm sure we'll see very much the same next time in Sonoma in a couple of weeks' time. I've got a fun fact for you, Ian. Here we go. Here's a stats-based fact from this. In the last 7 races of the championship, the podium has been identical. Biefeld, of course, leading, then Lindhoff, then Sundström, with the exception of one race, which was at Monza. Other than that, the top 3 has been the same 7, which is mental, by the way.
How many races was that? Sorry,
So in 7 races, only been
7?
different once. In 7 races, only different once.
Goodness
Technically, it's
me.
5 in a row of the exact same podium. There you go.
Goodness me. Well, that is quite a statistic. Well done. I knew you'd be able to work one in somewhere. So there we go. Yeah, it is going to be indeed rather similar, I'd imagine, in 2 weeks' time at Sonoma. April 16th, we'll be live same time, same place here with another round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. In that race, that will be the Additon.SE Grand Prix, by the way. In the meantime, make sure you join us next week for the next round of the Oval Series. That will be round 7 from Bristol Motor Speedway, 250 laps from the bull ring, as it were, in Tennessee. Make sure you join us for that. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Lewis McGlade in the commentary box here tonight with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras here for RaceSpotTV tonight in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Road Series. This championship returning from Sonoma in 2 weeks' time, so make sure you join us back for then. From all of us, though, from Brands Hatch, it's goodbye for now.